Hey guys, American Pizza Books here. I am back with another video, and today I'm going to be reviewing a book by John Saul, which is Midnight Voices. I have previously reviewed a few other of John Saul's works on here. I believe I reviewed Black Creek Crossing as well as The Right Hand of Evil. I have read a few of his other books since then, but I just never got around to reviewing them. But I finished this one a few weeks ago, and I definitely want to do a review on this one. I also read another one of his books recently, which was Hellfire, and I would love to do a review on that book soon, or pretty soon at least. And I just want to say, every book that I read from John Saul, I continue to just be a big fan of Saul's. It is kind of disappointing because I hadn't found John Saul or discovered him until I think about 4 or 5 years ago, and he's been around like forever. I think he's been writing books like damn near as long as like Stephen King has. Granted, he doesn't have as wide an array of books as like King does or as like someone else might, but he's got a good selection of works, and I'm very glad that I discovered him. I had heard about him before, I think, but I had never actually got into his work and whatnot. But I have read a good number. I think I've read about 5 or 6 of his books so far. I haven't nearly read everything that he's written. He wrote a good amount. Unfortunately, he is retired now, so that does kind of suck that he won't be writing more. But like I said, he's still got a good selection of works to choose from, and his stories, at least for me, consistently so far, anyways, have always been ranged from good to really good to great. The only book that I've read by him so far that I would say I thought was just okay, not that good, would be The Presence, I think was the name of the book. But that one was a really different style and formula for John Saul, apparently, according to other fans of his. So, I guess that's not too surprising, although something different can be good, but it definitely was a different book from him than from his usual kind of style. But anyways, Midnight Voices, if I hadn't said already, this was published in 2002. I believe his last book was in 2009, so this was definitely, I would say, in the later part of his career. And Midnight Voices basically has to do with, it opens up with a prologue, as seems to happen with a lot of John Saul's books. I think just about every one that I've read from him usually opens up with a prologue, which is not a foreshadowing, but it's a preface of things to come, basically, or it'll have an impact on the story later on down the road, or it'll be brought up or something like that. In the beginning of this book, we're introduced to Brad, and he is the husband to Caroline Evans, who will be our main character in the story. But we're introduced to him, and we can see that he's really, really paranoid, he believes he's being watched and stuff. And we don't really know why. I thought that maybe this guy is having onset maybe schizophrenia or something. Why is he being paranoid? But he thinks he's being watched, and then Caroline's just kind of oh, don't worry about it. You're just it's nothing. You're just being paranoid for no reason. And then he decides to go out jogging one night, and he gets attacked and murdered. I think he gets stabbed to death and just left where he is, and he gets killed. And that's basically where the prologue ends. And then we switch to Caroline and their 2 kids, Lori and Ryan. And we can see that she's struggling financially, because Brad was a big source of because they both work, but Brad was he earned more than Caroline did. So we open up and we see that she's really struggling to pay the bills and to afford the apartment that they have, and plus with 2 kids and everything. And we see the impact that it has on them as well, the kids. And, she's kind of struggling for a bit, but then eventually she meets, or rather it's kind of set up, really. I don't want to spoil anything too much, but it's kind of set up where she meets this guy called Tony Fleming, and they sort of develop a relationship and eventually end up getting married, and Caroline and her 2 kids end up moving into this really, really nice, really fancy apartment complex. It's kind of infamous among the town because it's supposed to be there's a lot of rumors about it, that it's an apartment complex for witches and stuff. It's kind of an urban legend around the town, this apartment complex that they're moving into. But they move into it, and Tony Fleming, he's really well off, and he's got a lot of money and stuff. So it's almost like a too good to be true scenario, which as you go on through the book, you find out is the case pretty much. But that's basically the premise. So this family moves into this apartment complex, and everything seems all right at first, but then they start to notice things and start to notice like a lot of the people, or virtually all of the people who live in this apartment complex are just a little bit off or a little bit shady, and just weird stuff starts to happen to all of them. So that's essentially the premise. Now, I have to say, I really, really enjoyed this one. I really loved Midnight Voices. The characters I thought were really well done. In the beginning of the story, you really feel the grief and the struggle of Caroline, like her grieving about her husband's death and seeing the struggle that she has to go through being a single mother trying to raise 2 kids on her own. And it really made me feel sad. Made me feel sad for her and for the kids. So I thought that John Saul did a really good job of really bringing to light her grief as well as the children's grief over the death of their father. We can see how it impacts the kids, especially with the younger child, Ryan, which is her son. And, there's just certain things that they always used to do that they can't do anymore because they can't afford it and all that stuff. So I thought that was really well done. The child characters I thought were really well done. Ryan, I believe, is like 10. I think at one point he's 10, but then later on in the book he's 11 years old. And then Lori is 13 years old. And I thought that Saul did a pretty decent job of writing both of those characters, because sometimes you come across an author who isn't great at writing like child characters or teenage characters. Like, I know that, like, for example, Stephen King is really, really good at writing child characters, but then on the other hand, you have someone like Dean Koontz who isn't great at writing kid characters, like not actually particularly good at it. So it's always kind of a gamble as to whether an author will like write like fairly realistic child characters or not. But I thought that here he did a really good job writing Ryan as a 10, 11-year-old boy, and with Lori as a teenage girl, or beginning to become a teenage girl. We see how they deal with like Tony and him becoming like their new sort of father figure, because Ryan takes it really, really badly. He doesn't want to accept him because he feels like he's replacing Brad. He's also the first one, I think, to kind of catch on that something is not quite right. I mean, Caroline starts to notice some stuff as well, as does Lori, but I think that Ryan is really the first one to really see that stuff isn't quite right and to really sort of see through Tony and some of the other people in this apartment complex. There's all the side characters too, like some of the other people in the apartment complex, they were written really well. I thought that they were all pretty sufficiently creepy in their own way. There's also a friend to Caroline, Andrea, and she's a social worker, and she actually is assigned to one of the other only kids who's living in this apartment complex. And she starts getting concerned about her because she's sick and doesn't seem to be getting better, or at least whenever she does get better, she seems to just get sick again. So there's kind of a side plot there with that. And I thought the character of Andrea was really well done. I thought the characters in general were really well done in this book, so no complaints as far as that goes. And then I thought that Saul did a really good job of building up and maintaining a really creepy, like, foreboding atmosphere in this apartment. Like, this feeling of just, like, this shit ain't right. Like, there's something seriously fucked up here. It reminded me, and I saw this in other reviews too, but this book reminded me of Rosemary's Baby in a way, just like in the sense that, you've got this family that moves in, and all this like community of people lives in this space, but like they're all kind of just off, They're kind of, they live like squared off almost from other people and stuff. Like there's even a doctor that they have in this apartment, like their own doctor who attends to the girl who was sick in this book. And that was also like another similarity, because in the beginning they have their own doctor, but then they're assigned this doctor that this apartment complex and these people have. So that was another similarity I noticed. Not that it like rips off Rosemary's Baby, but it had some similarities. It also kind of reminded me of like The Sixth Sense, actually, like with the girl who, because you guys, if you've seen The Sixth Sense, you know what I'm talking about. The one where like the girl is sick and then starts to get better, but then just becomes sick again, which is explained later on. It doesn't go down like that, but it kind of reminded me of The Sixth Sense too in that scenario. But yeah, I thought that, you know, the atmosphere was really good, the characters were really good, the pacing was really good too. There was never a moment in this book that I feel didn't belong. There was never a moment where I was just like, oh my god, let's get on with the story. Like, none of that. The pacing was flawless, really. There was no boring or superfluous or anything like that. So that was really well done. I would say my only criticism would be that there's a brief perspective from Tony Fleming, and he's talking about how he had a wife before and kids, and I'm wondering like what happened to, did the same thing happen to them that they tried to do to Caroline and her kids in this book, or did something else happen to them that he didn't necessarily agree with or have a say in? Like, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but I kind of wondered that, and that never really gets answered, so I wish we could have gotten a few more answers to that. And then also, the ending, it wasn't necessarily a bad ending. I would have liked to have known more about these people and like how they came to be and whatnot, because they're almost, I guess this is kind of a spoiler, but they're written to be like these sort of like supernatural like creatures essentially, and it would have been nice to know more about them. And like, if they're like, I think that a sequel would have been like perfectly like plausible for this book. But obviously, that's not going to happen. We're not going to get one because John Saul is obviously retired from writing, so we're probably not going to get a sequel or a follow-up to this. But I would have liked to have known more about them and stuff. So, but other than that, I don't really have any criticisms. This is, again, really good book. Really enjoyed this. This might possibly be my favorite John Saul book. I don't, because I really liked Black Creek Crossing. But I also really liked Hellfire, which I also read recently, so I don't know, but it was really good. So if you're looking for just like a creepy read that's like not too like, you know, not too long and not too like convoluted and complicated and stuff, you're just looking for something to relax with and just to feel creeped out at and just a fun read, Midnight Voices by John Saul is I definitely recommend, is the way to go if you're looking for that. So if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it like 5 out of 5, honestly. I thought that it was, I mean, minor criticisms aside, I thought that this was a really, really good book. You know, obviously it's not a literary masterpiece or anything, you know, that's not what John Saul is all about. It's not what he's trying to do or was trying to do anyways. It's just a fun, good read, and it exceeds what it's trying to do. So that's really all that matters to me at the end of the day. So Midnight Voices by John Saul, very good, highly recommend, and hopefully I will be back soon. So peace, and you guys have a good day.